It's August 17th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR in the Treasury Titans. I hope all is well today on Sunday. We are in the midst of the dog days of summer. It is August 17th, as I mentioned, and this is when everybody's just out there on vacation, touching grass, in the water, doing things. I hope you're having a wonderful summer, but just realize I'll be sharing some things later with you in this episode about seasonality and why it's so important to temper expectations and just have the right expectations overall with things that are going on. But let's just start with a bang because Michael Saylor wants us to make the winning bet. Now, what is that bet? Of course, the bet is Bitcoin with a capital B. So make the winning bet. Let's go, Michael Saylor. I'm making the winning bets. I'm betting on Bitcoin. I'm betting on you. I'm betting on strategy. I'm betting on Fong Lee. I am betting on the entire Bitcoin space because I believe that is the winning bet. And that is with hundreds and hundreds of hours of research. And if you've done the research, you are likely at the same conclusion. But of course, as always, nothing in this video is financial advice, but please do hit that like button. Please support the channel by doing just that simple action. It really does mean a lot. And let's continue on today's episode with that talk of seasonality that I mentioned. Let me go ahead and zoom on in here. Adrian Moore says, here's some Bitcoin and MSTR food for thought. Read the current MSTR price action. Market sentiment and seasonality is a real thing. And this is equity seasonality since 01/01/20. So for the past 5.5 years. While others are screaming about ATM equity offerings, I will continue to provide real insight and context wherever I can. And that's one thing I think Adrian does so well. He provides real context. And you look at the January, February, March, then April, obviously May dropped a bunch. Then it was spiked up for June and July. August, way down. Typically September, down as well. But then the 2 months you don't want to miss. You don't want to be out of the markets, historically in October and November. So keep that in mind. Hopefully we are looking at a couple big months. It seems like a lot of things are lining up right now with the Fed cutting interest rates before then, potentially becoming much more dovish again, potentially. Only time will tell. There's always things on the horizon that could either spike or spunk what we have, what we're hoping for coming up here. But Adrian's always providing some good context. And at the end of the day, how I read this and how I hope a lot of people are starting to understand slowly, at least the true believers in Bitcoin and the true believers specifically in MSTR, is that it was never the ATM. It was never the ATM. Michael Saylor and his team were always saying they're only hitting the ATM on strong days and they're affecting less than 2% of the volume. They were very clear on that, but nobody would believe them. And by nobody, I believe them, but nobody, it's A, people that are just finicky with short time horizons, but B, and even more importantly, it was people that were just spreading FUD. They were spreading fear because they're short, because they have short time horizons to the downside, because they're bears, because they have FOMO, because they've missed out on all, if not a massive chunk, on the 3,300% gain that MSTR has posted over the past 5 years. I mean, heck, I have FOMO for missing a good chunk of that. I didn't get in until the early 100s. So listen, FOMO is real. People are haters. They love it. They love to hate, especially when they've missed out. It's just a reality. Let's move on to documenting Saylor, who says public companies are stacking Bitcoin like never before. They know something. And again, look at this. Nothing until Michael Saylor came into town, and then a lot of things. And then finally, when the strategy was proven, the exponential curve up and to the right is only picking up steam. And we all know with all the companies, Sequence, ProCap, MetaPlanet, SWC, fill in the blank, there are so many treasury titans out there that are stacking. Maestro says, Michael Saylor's great quote, inflation is worse than you think, and Bitcoin is better than you know. I believe both of these statements. I truly believe that inflation is worse than I even want to think, because it's just too cringeworthy if I could really know at this moment just how bad inflation is. I mean, we all see it everywhere, but I mean, it's painful. And despite the hundreds of hours, now thousands of hours that I put into Bitcoin study and research and just content consumption overall, um, I still believe that Bitcoin's better than I even know. I truly believe that, and I think it's the solution of as the store of value going forward in the digital world that we are, in right now, but only moving more into. So, interesting things to think about. The Bitcoin therapist says, Justin, there is a coordinated social media campaign to smear the reputation of MSTR and Michael Saylor. I am watching it in real time. Bots, paid actors, and crypto influencers are all involved. It intends to negatively manipulate sentiment around strategy. Don't be fooled. And by the way, if you've been around long enough, you've been through these before. Like the most recent one that I remember was back when ETFs were about to come out. If you were tracking strategy then, it was insane. If you weren't, let me just fill you in. There was so much hatred and negativity because now that Bitcoin EFTs are coming out, or sorry, ETFs are coming out, strategy is going to become irrelevant. Nobody's going to want or need a company like Strategy. And what happens? Well, the exact opposite. Strategy went on an absolute tear because there's so many things that strategy can provide the market that ETFs are not designed to provide and will not provide and cannot provide. That's just a reality. So don't be fooled. Do not be fooled. I mean, there's, in my opinion, so much amazing things to come. And sticking around as the Treasury Titan side of this podcast, I'm gonna highlight MetaPlanet again because their CEO Simon just posted this amazing post. I highly recommend going through it if you want to educate yourself a little bit about MetaPlanet. And this is just the kind of leadership that Michael Saylor and Strategy provide that I love with the MetaPlanet team. And I don't I don't think there's a third best when it comes to leadership. I think obviously personally Strategy is a clear number one in both company and leadership. I think that MetaPlanet personally is a clear number two. And then I think there's a distant three through wherever. And that could change over time. But here we go. Simon says, I hear the disappointment in the recent pullback. It's natural to feel that way. But what gives us conviction is the foundation we are building. Let's review the milestones we've reached together because over time, fundamentals will prevail. And they go through, they talk. I'm not going to go in detail through this, but their Q2 was their strongest in history, with record operating profit and net income. They now hold 18,000 Bitcoin, worth 2.1 billion. And April of 2024, by the way, just a little over a year ago, their market cap was $14 million. Now it's 2.1 billion. Look at what they've done with this chart. It's amazing things. Simon says, our execution has been consistent and unwavering. On a log chart, our Bitcoin growth follows a near perfect straight line, showing steady accumulation without deviation. And this is over the past 475 days, which is just so impressive to see. Congratulations to the team. That's for Bitcoin Holdings and then the line of best fits. Bitcoin share is up 40x in 12 months. I mean, they're just crushing it there as well. Look at that chart. Our Bitcoin income generation business has grown for 3 straight quarters. I mean, look at their 4.4, 5.1, 7.8, just picking up steam. They're among the most traded stocks in Japan and one of the most Bitcoin treasury names globally. Absolutely. And the liquidity and visibility strengthen our market position, which is absolutely true. They filed a shelf registration for perpetual preferred shares. Again, they admire Michael Saylor, rightfully so. They admire the strategy team, rightfully so. And what are they doing? They are following the strategy playbook, and they are offering preferred shares just like strategy has in the US, in Japan, and it's going to go ballistic, in my opinion. Our shareholder base has grown to 128,000, which is amazing. Look at this shareholder base just skyrockets. We are consistently among the top stocks purchased in NISA accounts, which is a great thing. And they proudly represent Japan on a global stage as the only company outside the U.S. top 10 Bitcoin rankings. Look at all U.S. companies. And then there's MetaPlanets. And there's other companies that continue to jump in here, but I can tell you what, I think MetaPlanet's going to keep moving up this chain. I think they are going to become number 2. We'll see, but that's my belief. They're fully transparent about their reserves. They share all that stuff. That's one thing that people wish that Saylor would do, and he might be doing in the future. But that's one really interesting route that they went about being fully transparent. They're on track to reach 30,000 Bitcoin in 2025, which is insane. So they're going to almost be doubling their Bitcoin this year. So he just wants to say thank you to every shareholder for your conviction and support. We are building one of the most valuable companies in the world, backed by Bitcoin, onward together. I believe this is true. They believe this is true. And I do love that he says one of the most valuable companies, because he knows that Strategy will become the most valuable company, period. End of story. That's a little hat tip to Saylor. But they might very well become the number 2, or definitely a top 5 or 10 in the world. And with that, I hope you enjoy some video clips of Michael Saylor. So enjoy. PayPal just made it official. They're letting US merchants accept Bitcoin. That's not just a news story. It's a sign of where things are going, and it raises a critical question. If the world is shifting toward Bitcoin, are you doing enough to participate? Because here's a powerful way to go further. Convert an old 401k or IRA into a crypto IRA with the help of Bit IRA. Bit IRA will help you convert it free of taxes or penalties. And here's why you'll love them. End-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and registered with the US government. And it's fully IRS compliant. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without taxes incurred on any buys or sells. If you already put money into an IRA or employer-sponsored 401k on a regular basis, why not invest into a Bitcoin IRA each month? Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Again, that's bitira.com/JLD to open a tax-sheltered IRA in Bitcoin.
Dollars of capital are flowing into the network. It's going to go from 2 billion to 20 billion to 200 billion to 2 trillion to 20 trillion to 200 trillion. And when it gets to 200 trillion, it'll chop along at plus 20% to eventually 300, 400, 500 trillion dollars. And where is that capital going to come from? It's going to come from Russian real estate. It's going to come from Chinese private equity. It's going to come from everything in Africa, everything in South America. You have capital flowing from foreign financial and physical assets to Bitcoin. You have capital flowing from 20th century assets to Bitcoin. Capital is going to flow from the 20th century to the 21st century. It's going to flow from physical to digital. It's going to flow from currency-based derivatives to a digital commodity derivative. So it's already happening. It's unstoppable. It's literally like, for me to say Bitcoin's going to demonetize gold understates it. Yeah, it's going to demonetize gold. Then it's going to demonetize the real estate that's 10x more than gold. Then it's going to demonetize every long-term store of value. So what you have is a situation like the Europeans show up and they give like some Dutch guilders or some pieces of paper or some glass beads or seashells or stone coins to people using a more primitive form of money. And we have the opportunity to, in essence, just grab 10, 20, 25% of the network, let the entire dynamic flow, and it's going to accelerate. And when the dust settles, the American people will own 25, 30% of that capital, which right now is sitting in 20th century.
What's the second best? There is no second best.